this music a little bit. Perfect. And I might even turn it down here for me. There we go. But then maybe turn it up for you. Thank you to Lofi Hip Hop Girl, by the way, for making all all songs available to be used for streamers and content creators on all platforms. That is a beautiful thing. It allows us to have some nice backtracking as we create some things together today. Hi, I am Wolfe Scott. I am a lot of things. I am usually your host and dungeon master of Level 1 Adventuring, which is the channel that you are tuning into right now, either on Twitch or YouTube. What is Level 1 Adventuring? Primarily, it is a Dungeons & Dragons themed channel. We do a live Let's Play 5th edition campaign, homebrewed, with 6 of my friends who are wonderful sports and great players every Wednesday. Around this time slot, 7:30, usually a little earlier, fingers crossed. And Mondays, which, spoiler alert, is today, I like to do Dungeon Master Talks about design and adventure philosophy and all those kind of things if you're interested in running your own games or starting to run your own games. I like to take questions from chat, and also I'm going to try something a little different today. We'll get there. Also, excitingly enough, we decided to run a third type of content because 2022, baby, year of content. I've started a Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough on the channel, which, if you're not familiar with Baldur's Gate, it is a huge upcoming title by Larian Studios, partnered with the Wizards of the Coast, who makes D&D, so it is a Dungeons & Dragons themed video game, and it is great fun. The pre-release build is out now, and I don't think the real game is going to be out for a while, so I mean, we can all still cross our fingers, right? But for now, the game is great. And I started to play through, and I accidentally played for like 7 hours straight without realizing it the other night. So if you want to see some of that, I highly encourage you to do so. And then I think that's it for announcements, right? And what's for the channel? Oh no, actually there's one more thing. The Patreon. Our Patreon just went live. So we're young, but I have big visions for Level 1 Adventuring. I'd like it to be more than just a channel where we make D&D content. I'd like it to be a place where we produce like tabletop content, like adventure books. And actually that's going to be what we're kind of doing today, is designing some adventures to be like a nice little sneak peek into what I'd like Level 1 to be on a long enough timeline. But the Patreon's live, so if you like what you're seeing, what you're hearing, either the Baldur's Gate playthrough, the D&D playthrough, or these streams, please consider supporting us. Our goal, wink wink, our goal is to hit $6 a month in income, because that way I could afford a, a D&D Beyond membership for the crew, the cast and crew, so they could all digitize their character sheets without us having to dip into our own pocketbooks. That would be tight. A self-sustaining stream is the dream. Stream is the dream is the new motto. But I think that's all for announcements now. I think we're all done with announcements. So what is today going to be? It's a great question. I'm still figuring that out myself, looking at all my my PDFs. So I thought, in the spirit of me wanting Level 1 Adventuring to be a full-blown, adventure crafting company one day, I thought I would maybe stream behind the scenes a bit on what it looks like to make an adventure, design a dungeon, that kind of thing, and sort of talk through maybe my process, and definitely share some wonderful tips and tricks that I've stolen from adventure crafters before me, and hopefully share some resources that you could maybe download for yourself. There's so many great PDFs out there that help with adventure design, and I'm definitely going to be referencing a bunch during this sort of brainstorming session. So if you see some that you like, you think are going to be useful, highly recommend you download them, because then you're supporting other tabletop creators and you're making D&D better for everybody. So do it. Trying to see. Gonna adjust my chair a little bit. So yeah, I'm going in today with no preconceived notion. I want to approach this as sort of empty-headed as I can, because I want to prove that even if you want to make an adventure and you're really not sure where it's going to go yet, with the right application of resources and your imagination, you can eventually come across something which is pretty playable. So I'm going in pretty empty. I'm going to let a lot of resources like this book right here, which I'm going to reference here, called Dangerous Destinations. Who manufactured this? Does it show me here? Dearest Reader, Andrew Gertson. I don't know what company this is, but Andrew Gertson apparently is our lead writer. We'll have things like tables that will help you randomize a lot of the information, like the base information of what you're kind of creating. Even the actual D&D books, like the Dungeon Master's Guide and I guess most of the Dungeon Master's Guide, because that's really where you're going to do most of your world building, has a ton of like random roll tables to help jumpstart your imagination. So we're going to be leaning on that to kind of give us some seeds, right? Some just sort of raw material to work with, and then from there we'll build out and we'll connect tissues and we'll make a story. And then if we get far enough, I imagine I'm going to be doing this dungeon over a couple over a couple of videos. But if we, keep going far enough, maybe we'll get into like actually designing more of the nitty-gritty things, like the actual combats that will take place, the traps, the magic effects, all that stuff. But right now we're just going for like broad strokes, making an adventure, how to, and then we'll drill down. So the first thing that we are going to be looking at, I also saved a bunch of these notes. Oh, Mochi, hey, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Let me know if the music is like too overwhelming or underwhelming. Right now I'm kind of feeling the chill wave vibe we got going on here. What am I looking at? I have a bunch of these notes which I've pieced together in Microsoft OneNote, which if you don't use Microsoft OneNote for your D&D notation purposes, I highly recommend it. Basically because you get these wonderful little tabs that like split into sub pages. Like this right here is my D&D stream one, but if I take a look at, let's say, the one for my home game that I've been running for years, like look at this. Look at all these, like I can break it down by scenes and different things that happens in those scenes. Like incredibly useful stuff. So I highly recommend well, there it is. Highly recommend Microsoft OneNote if you are not using it. But whatever word processor you prefer, I'm sure will also suffice. So we are going to start with a location, because all good adventures have to take place in a location, presumably. And I wonder if this table gives me... They give you a random... They do. Okay. So first things first, because once again, we're going in completely empty-headed. We don't have a single idea in our brain. We're going to go with like what environment this takes place in, right? Because environment that will have a huge effect on the terrain that is taking place in. I mean, weather effects, possible monsters or enemies that are visible there. So here's what, I'm taking a look at this environments here. I'm going to make a call, and I'll explain why I'm making that call in a second. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. That means it fits on a D12, which means we can roll one dice and then figure it out from there, right? We love that. But I'm going to make a call in that I'm going to remove extra planar from our random roll, and I'm going to omit urban environments from our roll. And I'll tell you the reason why I think we should do that. So, number one, I mean, obviously adventures can happen in urban environments, like within cities and within towns, and obviously you will need locations for that to happen. But when an adventure takes place in an urban environment in a city, I mean, oftentimes those locations are rooted in the city themselves, right? Like if you have a general idea of the history or the culture or the the goings-on of the town, then you're probably at least passingly familiar with a lot of the ideas for the monuments there or the buildings there that could be possible adventure locations. So, I mean, for a video like this where we're kind of trying to go in as empty as possible and then build it out, I feel like Urban kind of relies on some pre-established information in terms of, you know, your setting and your city, and we can do a video on like that. We probably will one day, but I don't think right now I'm particularly interested in focusing on that. I'd like to focus on an environment that you could adventure and find in the world, right? While you're exploring, but not necessarily one that you would stumble across as you're walking through town, right? Now, the other thing that I'm going to omit is extraplanar. And the reason I'm going to omit extraplanar, and this is like, I guess, another choice that I'm making for this stream. So extraplanar, if you're not familiar with that terminology, what that basically is saying is, obviously in D&D, as we know, there are a bunch of different environments that you can come across in the world. Deserts and coasts and plains and all that fun stuff, mountains. But there are also, because we live in a magical world where fantasy exists and things like teleportation exist and other realms exist, right? You can actually leave the material plane, or like where D&D Earth is, right? And go to other planes of existence. So you can go to, I'm gonna try to turn performance mode on my, because I keep looking at the camera over there, which is probably distracting everyone. I'll turn it back off if I need to. Other planes of existence can vary so wildly, right? Like you can have there's literally the plane of fire, in which the entire world exists in molten lava and blazing spires and blackened rock, and then you have places like the Shadowfell, which is like a dark reflection of our world, and it's seeped in overwhelming dread and mournfulness and undead creatures. You know, there's just so much that can happen, but those kind of adventure locations are really suiting themselves to high-level adventures, at least higher-end adventures, right? Those are like, you know, our characters are so powerful that they can now hop out of our known existence and traverse the multiverse and end up somewhere else. And while that is incredibly cool, right, and very fun to design for, it's not obviously going to apply to most adventuring groups. Most adventuring groups don't usually play in that upper space, or at least their games don't really, like, you know, get to that upper space. And also, once again, it requires a very, I think, more specific kind of idea of your world and your universe, like, you know, what to you is the plane of fire? Is there a plane of fire? You know, like, that kind of stuff. Whereas, you know, if you're playing D&D, then you can most likely assume there's going to be forests, there's going to be mountains. These are, like, givens, right? Let alone, not like, you know, do you have a mechanus? You know, do you have a plane of law that exists all in copper gears and steam vents? Maybe not, so it probably wouldn't benefit me to explain how to design an extra planar adventure for you in that world. It's also very interesting, because these DM talks kind of are all about sort of D&D tropes and things at large. I would like to see if I could pull up the D&D 5e Tiers of Play, because I think this will give you, yeah, perfect, right here. I think this gives you a very good idea if you're like a new dungeon master, or you're like new to DMing in general, to sort of keep this in mind, this little area that I'm highlighting right here. Oh, hey, Brady, what's up? My roommate just came back from vacation, so I'll try not to be too loud and obnoxious. So you're going to see right here, these are the levels that any given adventuring party will be, right? Because obviously your character starts at level 1, and then should you eventually grind and play your way up to level 20, that's kind of where you'll end, right? There's methods of leveling up and gaining abilities beyond level 20, but for the most part, you know, the game is designed to hit from 1 to 20. And in that range, you have these specific little touchstones, these little cap points, that kind of give you a relative idea of the power level of the heroes, and conversely, the power levels of the threats they will face. So this is important for you to bear in mind as a dungeon master, because this is going to help steer not only your storytelling devices, but like your combat design, right? So if I were to, sort of quantify these fancy titles that they're giving to maybe something that is a bit more digestible to an audience who's not super familiar with D&D. So levels 1 to 4. Obviously, level 1 is where you're starting, and 4 is kind of where the cap end of this tier ends. This is what the game considers local heroes. So if I could give a pop culture reference, like this is Spider-Man in the wrestling suit, right? Like this is Spider-Man. No one really knows who Spider-Man is yet, but Spider-Man is like still doing good and fighting crime and busting bad guys, but is not a known entity, not a known name, purely acting on his impetus for justice and relative secrecy. Maybe not secrecy is not the right word, but just not a lot of acclaim, right? Levels 5 to 10, it's kind of when you've officially cut your teeth, we'll say, as an adventuring party, and you kind of ascend to the next level. Yeah, Bonesaw is ready, says Mochi. So then you got levels 5 to 10, and 5 10 is where you have cut your teeth, you've been on some adventures, and now you're sort of raising in fame, and, I mean, maybe infamy. So this is like Spider-Man in Spider Suit, right? This is like, he's now recognized by the city, people know him, he's on billboards, they follow him, they take pictures of him. Some people hate him. J. Jonah Jameson. So he is got a reputation, we'll say now. And he's now fighting beings that are like kind of on his playing field. Like before he's busting thugs in, masks on the street, and they're like common street criminal kind of things. Now he's fighting like the Rhino, he's fighting the Vulture, he's fighting beings that can like match him almost, or maybe even slightly exceed him in power. That sort of are antithesis to his skills, right? And that's like where I think 5 to 10 lies. Then you kind of get to 11 to 17. So if you were like, if you're going from like heroes of a town or a city, right? Like now we are the heroes of the world. We are not only recognized in a metropolitan area or to, a wide swath of people. We are known to like almost globally, like all people. And our reputation, of course, extends that far as well. So this would be like Spider-Man in, let's say, Civil War, right? That era. He's known by other heroes of his caliber or higher. He's wrestling with threats that provide a world-ending event, right? If things should go wrong, the stakes are so high that it's not like, oh, New York City's in trouble. It is like this could fundamentally collapse Earth as we know it, right? Bad news bears. And so then finally we get to level 17 to 20. This is like the apex of adventuring. You are at the height of your power. Your heroes are essentially superheroes at this stage. And obviously, if I were to quantify this in our Spider-Man terminology, this is Spider-Man like in like everything that's happening now, right? I mean, should I spoiler? I mean, I guess some of these movies are a long time ago, but this is like Spider-Man like fighting Thanos, right? These are like extra-dimensional beings that are far beyond anything he could comprehend in his human knowledge base. These things not only pose a threat to our world, they pose a threat to all worlds. Like when you're like this level, you are fighting existential threats on like on a level that is far beyond just your existence. We're talking about the existence of multiple existences, some truly far-ranging stuff like demigods and ancient primordial evils that have been sealed away since before times began. All that drama. So that's kind of like the scale that adventure design can work within. And in a good campaign, which if you've heard the term campaign, that is a long-form adventure. Actually, if I'm being more accurate, it is a series of adventures narratively strung together sort of episodically that build upon each other so that you have this campaign, right? You have like a long form story that is being told. A good adventure will hopefully work through all of these ranges, and they will also help you, they will narratively link together in such a way that it makes sense, right? That you feel as though your character sort of started from the bottom and now they were there, right? And their threats also increase alongside in accordance to their power level. So that's why I kind of don't want to design for extra planar right now, merely because I feel that implies a level of power which is very high, and also just one that I think is very difficult for new DMs to run, and I think is just sort of beyond the scope of what we're talking about today. I'd like to revisit it, you know? And I'm not saying that you can't have low-level extraplanar adventures. You totally can. There are tons of great adventures that are written in places like the Feywild, which is like the land of like the like the eldest elves, and like it's sort of almost like a fairy tale realm. And I mean, there's definitely adventures you could write for that space that are lower in level and scope. But I think in general, unless you're specifically writing story beats to happen in those alternate worlds, or like creating narrative devices that get your players there far earlier than they normally would, right? Their ability to do that on their own through spells or magic items, you know, probably isn't happening until far later, so it'd be your job as the DM to write them there. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of not what I'm going for right now, so I'm not going to do it. Sue me. But instead, we will do the 10 original biomes in this section, and then we'll sort of build out from there. But there's like a nice little, hey, Cosby C. Purge, what's going on? How are you? Thanks for joining the stream. If you just popped in, we're doing some adventure design, and I'm just chatting away. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Also, if you have any, what's the word I'm thinking of? Questions, right? Dungeon Master or game-related design questions, feel free to throw them in chat. I'm happy to do a side little tangent and veer in that direction at any time. But back to the matter at hand. So we have this wonderful list of possible locations, and we're omitting Cosmic Purge. Yeah, no, Cosmic Purge makes a lot more sense. Thank you for quantifying. My brain immediately went into like, read all of the letters, read all of the words. Yes, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you, Cosmic Purge. So yeah, I think in classic D&D fashion, and because we're doing this in the spirit of like a lot of random tables to help guide our design decisions, we're gonna be using a little. People get it wrong all the time, so no worries. All right, I feel much better in that now. Thank you. We're gonna let the dice decide where we go and begin our sojourn. So let's roll a die, and we're hitting 6. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Jungle. Ooh, jungle. Okay, jungle's fun. So let's go back to our new section. So this is gonna be our dungeon design session 1. And so we know at the very least that we got our environment. Letting the dice decide. Yeah, I too like to live dangerously. I'm a gambling man. There's gonna be a lot of dice rolling, so yeah, buckle up for that. So we know that our environment's gonna be a jungle, so this is going to be guiding a lot of our themes and our design decisions, which is fun. I personally haven't been able to run a lot of like jungle games. I've run a lot of like forest games, which, you know, a jungle is kind of like a much more sprawling, intense forest with a different heat signature, most likely. But if you're interested in jungle adventures, there is a really famous pre-written adventure. Oh, I have it on my shelf, and I can't remember the name of it. But it takes place in the jungles of Chult. Chult? Colt? C-H-U-L-T? I want to say Chult. I don't want to, like, spoil it, because, like, what if you're a player in it one day? But there's, like, a lot of spooky undead monsters. And there's dinosaurs, which is pretty tight. And undead dinosaurs. So there are undead, there are dinosaurs, and undead dinosaurs. You're going to put a dungeon in the jungle? I might put a dungeon in the jungle. I mean, I likely will. I'm going to put something in the jungle. We haven't figured out what's going in there yet, but it's going to be presumably something you could adventure in, so very close to a jungle. So let's see if... Do they have any specific notes on jungle that we might want to pay attention to for our design? Oh, they do. They do. They actually have a lot. Cool. Okay. So this can also help us figure out what we're doing. So many character choices. Yeah. I mean, you're gonna see we're gonna have a lot to work through here. All right. So what is this? This is the destination location. So where in the jungle? Ooh, interesting. Okay. This can help us decide our positioning of the jungle. So number 1, the jungle edge. Okay, where it meets a bordering region or biome. This is cool. Ooh, interesting. We got monkeys possessed with a parasitic mold. I dig that. I dig that. Okay, let's write that on the side. So let's say primates infested with mind-altering mold. Let's revisit that, because that is fun. Okay. So we have it at the jungle edge, which means that this is meeting another biome, which is cool, because now this gives us the opportunity to figure out what other region is bordering it, which may also affect what we see. However, because of Cosmic Purge's train of thought here that we're working with, I kind of like this idea of this mold stuff. And when I think of a parasitic possessive mold, I immediately think Underdark, right? Which, if you're not familiar with Underdark from D&D lore, it is pretty much the place beneath the crust of our world, right? More so than just caverns. If you can imagine, there's like, you know, like when you were in science class and you had the orb of the earth and you like look through all the different layers, right, of like all the rocks and everything. So, you know, there's obviously things that are just beneath our feet, which are like caverns and caves, and you know, that is underground, but it's not necessarily the Underdark. The Underdark is like far, 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 far deeper, and it is expansive to the point where it's almost like a fully functional existence, a world parallel to us, beneath us, that has its own, you know, that has their own ecology. You know, people, you know, they'll eat mushrooms, like they have mushroom farms. There's like weird types of crystals that grow out of the stones there that they used to manufacture like cutting tools. It's where a lot of very famous subterranean D&D ancestries like the Dark Elves are from. And it all exists underneath this world that like you would never know is beneath your feet unless you travel a bit too deep, and then suddenly, you know, your eyes are opened. So I'm gonna say that this is, so it's at the jungle edge, and it is neighboring the Underdark. So what does that say to me? That says to me that it's probably neighboring some sort of like rocky or maybe even mountainous area. I'm gonna put a hyphen or a slash there, because, you know, we can presume that these tunnels are boring up from the center, the heart of the world of the Underdark, and sort of wind their way through this mountain and through or into our dungeon, which then leads us to the parasitic mold. Makes me think of the Darkness Falls of the X-Files. Oh, okay, classic X-Files reference. We dig it. Yeah, maybe I'll have, depending on how long this episode goes, if it stretches into multiple episodes, I'll have to like watch it and like catch up on it. Okay, so yeah, let's say that. What else do they have here for these like jungle environment little interesting features? Oh, this is a D20 table. Notable environmental features. So you can see already right now we've rolled what, 2 die, and we already have, and we had some great suggestions from chat, and we're already sort of piecing together an interesting story. So we dig that. But let's roll this. I'm not even gonna read the table until I roll, just to be surprised. So notable environmental features. I got a 17. Small mountain. Yeah. So the fates were with us. A rise of stone and earth that covers a significant... So yeah, so it's neighboring this Underdark region. And the notable feature is that it is built... Or this, whatever this is, it exists in the side of a mountain. The side of a mountain. So... I like the idea of the first boss being an ape that is like a D&D-sized Donkey Kong. Oh, yeah, heck yeah. There's actually... Oh, man, there's actually a great monster. I'd have to read up a little bit more on its lore to make sure it would make sense, but these guys... Gorillons? Which are essentially just four-armed, white-furred apes with tusks. Like, that is metal. And very cool. So, yeah, I'm already, I wonder how smart they are. I can't remember if they're, like, highly intelligent. Although we could always say that the mold makes them more highly intelligent. That could be part of, like, the drama, right? It's like, man, these Gorillons used to just, like... I mean, they were a threat, but they used to hang out in the trees, and they weren't anybody's business. But, like, now they're everybody's business. So, I'm going to write that another side note here. Idea... Gorillon, because we're also gonna want to start building out just like an idea table in general. I'm gonna say idea table here, which we can come back to or not, depending on what happens. But you know, why forget anything? Forgetting things isn't fun. I'm gonna make this purple. No, you know, I'm gonna make it yellow for the color of thought. The mold is what makes their fur white. Ooh, all right. I'll see. Look at this. Y'all are D&D designers in the making, and you didn't even know it. Oh, there's like more. There's like more tables for this jungle. Dear Lord. Okay, perfect. We love it. We're just gonna roll through all the jungle stuff and then move from there. We got a rippin' 5. So what does 5 say? Oh, this is the tree density. So, what does this say? Natural. The trees are spaced naturally. Movement of medium creatures and vehicles is unimpeded. The larger varieties may need to take a special route. There are a good number of long lines of sight, multiple directions. Nighttime effect. Okay. So, I mean, nothing too crazy. Tree density. So, we'll just say medium characters and vehicles can pass normally. Large creatures with difficulty. Nothing too crazy. I'm gonna fix my typos here. There we go. And then what else do we have here? The floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Is there an option for that? The floor is bodies. Another one. Overgrown. Ooh, interesting. Oh, overgrown flooring. Maybe because this spooky underground mold is creeping along the bottom of the floor. So I'm gonna say jungle floor, and then we'll actually see what they say, and then I might insert some of those ideas in there. Jungle floor is covered in grasses, fungi. There we go. Flowers, vines, exposed roots, and other ground-based vegetation. Paths must be cut. Is very difficult. Okay. So we're gonna write here that it is difficult to. So first we should write overgrown, right? So we know that's what it is, and we're gonna say that it is difficult terrain, unless cut through, and that sneaking is difficult. Okay. Perfect. So there we go. We got a good amount of information about this environment so far, which I dig. Then present natural hazards. Recent weather. I might skip through some of the weather stuff for now, because weather can always change. But is this still jungle stuff? Yes. But I like some of the other tables, so let's go back to them. The natural hazards one seemed interesting. So what do we got there? We got 8. All right. I have a D8 in here somewhere. I assume. I have every die available to me at all times. So yeah, I would assume I have an 8. This looks like an Okay. So we have a poisonous plant. All right. I feel like the dice gods are sort of enforcing our ideas. Viren spiders, tiny construct-like creatures that only have 3 HP, bite for 2 piercing damage, and have a rather dickish ability. Okay. I mean, yeah, we love swarms of spiders. And then you mentioned there were constructs. Ooh. Okay. Idea. We'll see how the dice play. But what if and this is maybe immediately I'm thinking of this in like is my Halo brain triggering, right? What if the constructs, right, are left in this dungeon location because they were supposed to protect the outside world from the mind control fungi, right? When killed by a non-magical attack, they split or multiply. Ooh, constructs multiplying spiders. So almost like the what is the ooze that does that? There is actually a D&D ooze monster that multiplies when it is slain. I think it's like maybe it's a green slime. I will write multiplying ooze here because definitely multiplying ooze. Definitely my brain can't turn on. If we take this design session long enough into other sessions, I'll definitely do specific monster design episodes, and we can have one about this multiplying spider. But yeah, what if now thinking a bit more narratively here, what if the construct spiders, creatures, whatever these little insecty things are designed to protect the world, the outside world, from these mind control fungi, but something goes wrong. Something, we'll get there, right? Some calamity or some accident causes some of them to get out. Green slime that multiplies his die sounds more like the Minecraft slimes. Yeah, I feel like the Minecraft slimes definitely might have taken a page of inspiration from some old Gygaxian monster manuals. But yeah, okay. Once again, keeping that in the idea table. I like where that is going so far. What did I roll for here, though? I rolled like a 4 or a 5. Poisonous plant. The air destination is full of plants that can make those ingest them seriously and well, causing symptoms such as convulsions, nausea, untimely death. Wear protective layers. Okay, so present hazards. So we're going to say there are spores, right? There are poisonous spores. Plants I'm going to put in quotes spores. And will, yada, 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 mind-altering effects. Maybe in terms of gameplay effects, it would have to reduce a creature to 0 HP, and then instead of dying, they're, like, resurrected under the fungi's control. We'll think about that. But for now, that's cool. This is starting to feel, to me, talking about that adventure location stuff that I was talking about, this is definitely not feeling like a local hero kind of dungeon environment. This is definitely something that isn't just a threat to a small settlement, right? Definitely seems like it is a threat to at least an entire city, right, or an entire large populace of people, or, the world at large, should it get big enough. So I'm definitely going to say this is feeling more like a level 5 to 10 adventure. Possibly 11 up. We'll take a look back into that later. But it's definitely not a level 1 to 4 adventure. Fighting these, like, mind-controlling things. Definitely different scale of power. Viren spiders have a harvestable web that consists of a metal alloy. Ooh. Each web yields lootable strands. It is material that can be used in crafting. I dig that. We can say swarms of spiders. So definitely having like a web attack is cool. Metallic web attack. And then also harvestable for crafting. We love that. Players always love when they can, you know, steal something cool from the monsters. Yeah, present natural hazards. I'm not going to worry about the weather, because like I said, the weather's always kind of like a changing phenomenon, which you as a dungeon master can decide, like, oh, do I want stormy? What do I want? There's local fauna? Okay, sure, why not? We got a 4. There's one particular kind of animal that can be found near or in the location. Okay, so this is saying that we have to roll for a later table. So we'll say local fauna, and then roll once for beast table. I'm assuming that's later, so we'll come back to that. And then is there anything else? Environmental dangers. Typically, oh, that's right here. Typically non-threatening beasts, right? There are 2 types. Roll twice on the environmental danger beasts or typically non-threatening beasts. Yeah, both. Cool. Well, I feel like I don't even know if we need to roll on this one, because I see ape right here at the top, which I feel like is sort of our main inspiration, and we have spider here. But for the hell of it, let's roll one more, just to give us an idea we can fall back onto, should we need to. Ooh, axe beaks. That's kind of fun. For those of you who are not familiar with D&D, axe beaks are, I mean, you can imagine them as like emus or ostriches. They're like huge flightless birds, but their beaks, you know, kind of come up like a big wedge, like an axe head, and they can sort of peck you and slash at you. So local fauna, so we'll say apes, and we'll say axe beaks. Maybe that will come up later in some cool way. And I don't think we rolled. Okay, so I think that takes place for everything in our jungle stuff. So let's go back here. Part 2. Oh, we kind of skipped. I went straight to environments first. I guess part 1 was the location. I did it backwards just because I wanted to start with environment. But hey, we've already learned a lot. Mochi has something to say in chat. Mochi says, in the jungle there's always has to be a hidden treasure because I'm obsessed with treasure, which brings people into the jungle. That's why there's a high risk in the environment. Obviously, yes, we need a storied treasure. We need a legendary loot to lure adventurers. Absolutely. Okay. So, a friendly tribe of religious baboons. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at these these adventure locations. I mean, religious structure and religious sites are both on the table. But let's see, maybe there's also crypt. There's some cool stuff. Okay. So part 1 destinations. Do they give us the full table, or is this specifically for crypt? I want the full table. Do I have to go to introduction? Oh, prelude. I didn't even see the prelude. That's cool. Okay, destination type. Yeah, this is what we wanted. But I didn't see these. These are fun. Yeah. Why don't we... the theme of the adventure. So this will help our story a bit. Okay. Where's my D10? I know I have one. I know I have some. I'll just roll D100 because it's like a D10 with an extra number on it. And I'm going to drop it right on the ground. And I'm going to roll it again. Ooh. 8, which is hatred. Hatred. Hope you get a 69. On a long enough timeline, Cosmic Purge, I hope we all get a 69 for all of our sakes. The theme is hatred, a pure dislike or a desire to see ill befall something. Oof, that is like heavy, heavy, heavy. So, hatred, I'm kind of seeing that as whatever made these constructs, right? Had to hate had to be so torn up about this fungi that they poured all their hatred into these constructs. Poured their hatred into it. Ooh, maybe. Okay, follow me on this one. Weird idea. When I say hate leads to suffering. Suffering leads to anger. What if, because I'm saying they poured their hatred into it, right? As sort of just like a, what do you call it? A fanciful turn of phrase. But what if they literally did? What if these people somehow, some way, sort of metaphysically bound their hatred, their hateful spirits, to the constructs? So this could maybe be a way that the characters could even interact with them in a non-combat way, right? Because obviously they look and they act like mechanical or some sort of constructed being, but they have the minds of, even the hive mind of, although hive mind is more so the fungi's deal. We'll say, you know, they have the memories, the thoughts, the ability to communicate like the souls that were bound to these devices. So that's interesting. Metaphysically, creators metaphysically bound their hateful spirits to the constructs to serve eternally. Okay. That's cool. Oh, I also just realized it was actually a D20 roll, and I stopped on a D10. But hey, I'm not gonna, you know, fate has spoken, and I think what the idea we just came up with was cool, and that's why we roll with it. What, if anything, was found here before your dangerous destination occupied this location? So let's see. The previous presence. Wow, can I read? Okay. The previous presence, 16. The previous presence says that it was creature territory. So obviously we know that the creatures are, the creature territory are the apes. So this was a breeding ground, a hunting ground for these apes. Hunting ground. Whoa, can't type. For these apes. So now we're actually learning a lot about the history of this place, because now we know at one point that probably a very intelligent, a sentient species, you know, maybe something even that an ancestry that the players could pick, like, you know, a sort of a dwarf or an elf or something, existed here, was struggling with this mind-altering plant so heavily that they poured every last ounce of themselves into creating these guardians to stop the fungi from, you know, breaching our world, and their civilization kind of like faded, right? All memory of them becomes sort of lost to history, and in its place, this place just becomes overrun with just apes, right? Just like a place where they hang out. But as we'll soon see, something far more nefarious happens. Okay, and then the continued presence. Interesting. I'm not even going to read it yet. I'm just going to roll it and then see what it says, because we're tricksy like that. The present reduced. So is the present still there? If there isn't, are there linger effects? The present still exists, but it isn't what it used to be. It is either less power, shrunk in size, is less effective, or perhaps been forgotten. Okay. Oh, the destination. Oh, there's two different. The destination is as at odds with the previous presence. Yeah, I think that makes sense. That this presence is reduced, quote unquote, not because the apes are less prevalent. It's because the current destination, which is being overrun by mind-altering fungi, is now at odds with the location. which are the apes. So let's say continued presence. And then this was, I'm going to say at odds. What is your favorite class to play as? That is a great question, Cosmic Purge. I am contractually obligated to say that my favorite class is DM because it is the one that I am usually playing for my friend group for, I don't know, since I was in high school. I'm usually the forever DM. But if I actually get the rare opportunity to play a character, I would say I usually like playing spellcasters, like arcane spellcasters, because I like being able to use the magic to like manipulate the environment. I think my favorite is sorcerer, just because I like the lore behind them the most. When I was younger and first getting into D&D, I remember and all I had was the 3.5 monster manual, or sorry, player's handbook, and I was learning about all the different types of characters. I like the idea of being a magical character, but the flavor of the wizard never really appealed to me, because the flavor of the wizard was like, oh, I go to magic school, and I read my magic books, and I learn, how to do magic. But the sorcerer felt like, to me, and because I was in high school and I loved, comics and stuff, I was like, oh, this feels like I'm an X-Man. Like, I just woke up one day, and magic was in my blood, and it awoke, and now I can manipulate the world through my power, but it's like a bit more untamed, and it's a bit more, it's not refined like a wizard's magic is. So I always liked that idea, that fiction behind the sorcerer. I have played a sorcerer wild magic before. The player in my home game, which has not the one that is being streamed, the other one that's been running for almost 8 years, maybe even 8 years at this point. Crazy to think about. Plays a gnome wild magic sorcerer by the name of Ibanez Abendroth, and is as the wild magic implies, is the utter wild card of the party. Is the most chaotic. Has led to some of the most epic and hilarious and fail-prone moments in the campaign. Has definitely, you're familiar with the wild magic table because you're playing a wild magic sorcerer, had at one point. There's like that one magic effect you can get where it just randomly plays music, around you in the air. There have been multiple occasions. I don't know what kind of mathematical odds would have to happen for this to be the case, but there have been multiple occasions where the party has been trying to stealthily creep their way into like an enemy base, and he has accidentally triggered music to play all around them and entirely given away their location. Hilarious. So yeah, I have a soft spot in my hearts for wild magic sorcerers, if not only just because of Ibanez Abendroth, the entirely wild card gnome sorcerer who I know and love very much. But yeah, continued presence at odds. So the ape's presence is unusually affected by this fungi. I'm remembering there is a type of creature in not the base monster manual, maybe in one of the expanded monster manuals, which is kind of like a pod person kind of plant. We can maybe, I can't remember what it's called. I'm gonna say pod person plant monster manual, but not standard, to look that up later. I usually prefer melee attackers, but I've been mixing things up whenever I make new characters. Yeah, I mean, like, the cool thing about, I think, 5th edition is that, I think they've bridged the gap in a big way with how effective melee characters feel. In 3rd edition, after magic casters got to a certain level of power, they just felt so overwhelmingly beyond most melee attackers, unless the melee classes had like a bunch of cool enchantments or magic weapons or things like that. In 4th edition, which I know a lot of people, it's a very controversial edition, I enjoyed it personally. It taught me how to DM a lot better in many ways. Really leveled the playing field. Like, everybody kind of felt on the same tier, right? In terms of power level, which I know upset some people because, like, well, I'm a wizard. I should know all this arcane magic. Why should the guy with a sword be as good as me at killing things? Which is like, I don't know, neither here nor there. But 5th edition, I think, does a really good job of still making the spellcasters feel very unique and powerful with all the different effects they can do. But like pound for pound, if you're like playing a fighter or a barbarian, the amount of like damage you can do and the amount of like cool effects you can have, even with just your sword or your axe or whatever, still makes you feel like very potent and effective and interesting. Like even if you don't have like an entire spell list. So I think 5th edition did a good job at that, and no one seems to, at least as I know, complain as much as they did in 4th edition about that. So they must have gotten it right. Okay, now the destination type. The destination type, I feel like, is going to change a lot. Or maybe not change, but it's going to alter. It's going to affect a lot of our note-taking. So I'm excited to see what happens. And am I cutting off any of the table? No, it is 12, which is what we want. So where is my 12-sided die? I see a 10. I see... This is my 12. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Give me a roll. Ooh, interesting. A headquarters. Central location where command of a company, organization, or fighting force, well, we'll say was established. It is currently not established anymore. So, yeah, let's write headquarters. Central location where command... I'm going to say, okay, central location where command of a company... or fighting force. Wow, fighting force was established. Okay, so now that means we can hop to that section, and we can start building this out. Okay, so obviously, I think, whoa. Okay, I think with some of the table that we already rolled, some of these things might be apparent. Like for example, age. I think is ancient. I don't think I'm even going to roll that. I think with the narrative we've already established, trying to say this is like a new headquarters doesn't make any sense. Unless the headquarters of the company is new, but they're fighting... You know, there's like like another location. Like they established the headquarters to help fight what's happening at the location. But for now, I'm just going to say it's ancient. Whoa, I broke it. Haha. Scroll back. Scroll back. Okay. I'm going to say the age is ancient, which means it's roughly over 500 years old. And, whoa. All right. And the size is definitely not single space. Multi-room small, which roughly the size of a small residence. I don't think that's accurate for this either. Out of a large multi-room structure. Yeah, so I'd say it's one of these 1, 2, 3. So I'm actually going to roll a d6, and I'm going to say 1 to 2, 2 to 3. Sorry, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6. 6. Okay, so this is a large compound. Whoa, notable contents. Alright, so size. This is a large compound. I guess it makes sense. This place is starting to sound like some sort of factory almost for these metallic guardians. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe gnomes? I mean, gnomes historically in D&D are the ones that have the they're the ones that have the aptitude for artificery and making magical contraptions and constructs. Obviously, we can play against type, and we can say it's something different. But I also don't often find myself designing story beats centered around gnomes. So maybe we just roll with it. So maybe we'll say gnomes, history, and then I'll say artificery, magical contraptions. That's a made-up word, so it's not gonna... And I'm gonna put in factory, maybe. Factory, maybe, question mark? Large compound. So what does that say here? this gives us a rough idea of how many structures it's made out of. I'm only going to roll... I don't know why it says 4 large and 4 small if I'm only rolling 1d6, which is assuming one of these two. So the number of structures doesn't really matter either way, or the size of them. It's really the number that we care about. And obviously the number may change when I start talking about actually designing the dungeon itself, the location and the rooms. We might blow this number out of the water anyway, or even go below it, depending on where we're at. So why don't we just roll it, just to get an idea, and then we'll go from there. So, a 9 again. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So, estimated room size, 13. Now, what that says to me, immediately, to me that sounds like 12 regular rooms and a boss room. But we'll come back to that later. And then the condition. Interesting. Oh, and then it told me to roll 6 times on the notable contents table. Interesting. We'll get there. The condition... The condition is me. Random song popped into my head. The headquarters is well organized and very clean. Structural maintenance has been made a high priority, and there are no apparent vulnerabilities. The structures, doors, and windows seem to work. That's kind of... It's antithetical to what we've been thinking, but it's kind of cool in that maybe these little constructs, right? They've been tirelessly working to keep this little factory operational, right? Oh man, thinking about this dungeon is kind of interesting because constructs and plants are kind of very two not typical D&D monster types to face in mass, right? They're usually like kind of more set piecey kind of fights. So making them sort of the overarching theme here, it's interesting. I dig it. All right, so we're gonna say the condition is excellent, functional, taken well care of by constructs, and we'll say that the deeper we get, the more overgrown and corrupt the space becomes. Because obviously the plants are growing and they're asserting more of their influence on the space, and the constructs are having a hard time fighting that. So I think the deeper we go, we see more of the effect of the fungi growing, and that's a nice little cue to the players too, that they're getting closer to the center, the epicenter of the problem, and presumably the boss fight, right? The big bad boss, and just increases the creepiness. Okay. Notable contents. I'm supposed to roll on this 6 times, which is interesting. But hey, I like the idea. I like getting more idea seeds. So let's go with notable contents, and we can get rid of whatever we don't like. These aren't bound. They aren't bound to our souls forever. We have I'm rolling a D6 instead of a D20. But I'll take the 6. Why not? I'll take the 6 because I rolled it. Maps. These depict various locations. Though likely to be documents, they could be found on a wall, even a tabletop, or other surface. So interesting. So we have like a map room. I almost want this to take, depending on how high techie magic we go, it might be cool to even have this be like almost like a magical hologram, maybe. That the players could like turn on and somehow using Arcana, like knowledge of magic, and then they can sort of scout out the dungeon ahead of time. So yeah, maybe like a magical holographic map room that can be activated. I like that. And then we just keep rolling. See what else we come up with. A 15. Specialist equipment kit. issued to an occupant of the headquarters tasked with a special kind of job, such as demolitionist, siege engineer, spy. Okay, specialist equipment. At one point, I assume this would have been, like, I'm going to put in parentheses, like, drone repair center, right? So this is where we'll find, like, magic tools to fix the constructs. There we go. And we'll just keep going. Keep going. Personal correspondence. Now, see, this is cool because this is where, okay, personal correspondence. So this is like where the players can learn some of the history about the space without interacting with a direct NPC, because, I mean, this place is sounding pretty dangerous, right? Like, I doubt there's going to be people just living there who they can, like, talk to. I mean, maybe. We'll figure it out. But once again, playing with this hologram idea, maybe they're, like, I'm thinking, oh, what's that game? Oh, Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Where Aloy, she can, like, accidentally turn on consoles that play like the recorded holographic memories of the people who used to be there, and that's how she kind of learned about the past. So maybe we have something like that going on. So there's like holographic recordings of those who came, those who staffed the factory before. Yeah, that's cool. Cooler than a letter by any means, and definitely gives us a cool thing to build off of. All right, keep going, keep figuring it out. 15. Oh, we already rolled a 15, a specialist equipment, but you know, maybe we'll roll it again. Yeah, we could also say specialist equipment. Perhaps this is sort of like a botanist, alchemical lab where they are studying the fungi and its effects, right? Perfect. Ooh. Ha. Okay, so we went with this idea that the creators metaphysically bound their hateful spirits to their constructs to serve eternally. Why did they do that? Because in their studies, they found out that their minds could only be stolen if their bodies were infected, right? But if they made their bodies into magical constructs, then their minds couldn't be stolen, right? So they have this lab, they're inspecting, they're like, you know, they're doing experiments with the fungi. Maybe some of them are like really messed up, like forcibly subjecting people. Vorpal, I promise you, this is not coming up for our stream. That would be way too easy for you to spoil. No, these are freeform adventures that I'm coming up with the help of chat. And hopefully so that I can turn them into actual adventure content books and release them to the world. And I will cite and I will, what's the word? Credit anyone who is who has been helping here so far. So Vorpal, to catch you up, we've just been using some great PDF resources to help us generate some random ideas. With the help of chat, we've got some pretty cool narrative threads happening so far. So far we know that there's like this weird artificer factory that is in the jungle. We know that it is on the side of a mountain that burrows deep into the Underdark. We know that there was some sort of mind-altering fungi, some sort of weird plant that existed in the Underdark that a group of people way in the past, which I think right now I'm going to go with the idea that they were gnomes, were trying to protect the upper world from, but they kept getting infected and their minds kept getting destroyed and all that stuff. So They did some spooky magic artificery ritual, and they literally poured their minds and their hate for this fungi into the constructs, so that their bodies could not be taken over by the fungi to guard this place and to defend it against they defend the outside world. But unfortunately, as happens in D&D adventures, we haven't figured out what exactly has gone wrong. The fungi are back, and so that's going to be causing all kinds of madness with both the constructs and the plants. Also, we're playing with the idea that there's like sort of primate people, or maybe a primate-like monster. I think we're playing with the idea that the gorillans, because, I mean, like, look at this guy. Freaking sweet. Is somehow affected by these plants as well. So we may see some mind-controlled fungi apes around, which would be interesting. So right now, yeah, we're just kind of rolling through some tables to build out a rough idea of the story of the dungeon, and also taking ideas from chat and looping them together as they come. And then we'll be building that into actual adventures and stuff as we go. So where do we stop? So we had 4 rooms, or 4 ideas. They told me to roll 6. You're saying that a well-intentioned people left a lasting legacy to protect the future, but somehow their legacy has been corrupted. Sounds like capitalism to me. Yeah, I mean, if anything, D&D is just a very convoluted allegory for our current socio-political spectrum. Hot takes coming from this DM. Full from the pipeline. We're going to keep rolling. 16. 1 point higher. Commander equipment. Ooh, kit issued to a commander, officer, or other high-ranking individual in the headquarters. This may simply be better quality versions of basic equipment or include other special items. Commander equipment. That's interesting. To me, my first inkling, and this can of course get scrapped at some point if we don't love it, but I'm thinking of some sort of, like, I don't want to say mech suit, because that's, like, maybe a lot. But, you know, it's like if I'm, like, the head gnome of this place who's trying to build these... I mean, assuming they didn't go straight for, let's put our minds... Or maybe they did. I mean, maybe they didn't, but regardless, the commander of this place, right, would probably pour their mind and their spirit into, like, the biggest, baddest, most effective, scariest construct, right? Because that's how video game and D&D logic works. The most important bad guy, or I guess they're not bad, they're misunderstood. For me, I was thinking of an AI witch doctor. Ooh, okay. I like the idea of this character. AI magician. Let's keep them in the back burner. AI magician, because maybe that could be, maybe this could be, looking at the other things we have options, maybe, I'm wondering if there's, because we're playing with the idea that there's like this holographic map room, and there's like a holographic correspondence room where you can see like the holographic recordings of like the gnomes and stuff that were here before. What if there is a room that kind of has a central AI, if you will, neuromancy, as Vorpal has put it. It's almost like a Siri of the space, you know. And at first it recognizes the characters as intruders, and that's what's deploying all of the little constructs against them. But perhaps with proper persuasion, or, you know, that the characters proving to the network that they're friends, perhaps they could even convert them to be allies, and they could provide some sort of help to the party as the adventure continues. So commander headquarters, maybe. Okay, an idea. What if, instead of metaphysically binding their hateful spirits to the constructs themselves, because, you know, the constructs, I like that they kind of operate impartially, because then they don't know the player's intruders from any other intruder that, like, they would be designed to defend the factory against. But what if the hateful spirits and their minds were poured into the AI? Like, what if this magical AI is sort of like the combined neuromancy of the gnome artificers? And so, because, you know, if we have the I'm actually gonna put this under here. Because if we have each individual construct having its own kind of personality and stuff, I mean, that is obviously interesting, but it, you know, then the players could, like, talk to every possible construct and skirt around a lot of conflict. There's an opportunity there for a capture puzzle fake out, like, which of these runes depicts a carriage? Choose all that apply. Oh my god, Vorpal. I hate you, but I love you for that. Oh my god. Like the Boar Queen. Yeah, very much. She's almost like a parasite in a sense. Yeah, okay. So Commander Headquarters. So the Commander is like the gnome magical neural network AI character. Yeah, this is weird. This is super weird, but I mean, like, hey, this is how good adventures are made, right? You just keep getting weirder. Okay. So where do we leave off? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need one more, like, interesting random roll, and just to follow their guidelines. Surveyor's tools. Okay, made for surveying terrain. Surveyor's tools. So obviously this could be a room with equipment pertaining to excavation. Equipment pertaining to excavation and demolition, because, you know, obviously if this fungi is creeped its way up from the Underdark, that means they had to have been doing some kind of tunnel stuff beforehand. Yeah. Survey, right? That was 9 surveyor's tools. Assessing terrain. Tools for terrain. That also might give the players an interesting opportunity to find, like, I don't know, like, demolition charges or other, what's the word I want to use? Specialized weapons or tools against the fungi big bad. Right? That's cool. So that was all of the notable things. Current inhabitants, I don't think we really need to roll for this, because I think we've already answered a lot of these questions. So I think the current inhabitants is new forceful, right? Because this would mean... Oh, wait, this is interesting. This is interesting. Oh, because, like... Because the occupying force, right, are, I guess, these, like, mind fungi apes. And so, like, I just see scenes of, like, these huge mind control apes, like, fighting these, like, mechanical spiders or, like, whatever, and, like, trying to rip them apart. And yeah, there could be some very cool scenes of, like, the player just stumbling into scenes of violence that are already transpiring, and they're just like, oh, what did we just walk into? This is not what we had anticipated. So yeah, so I think that the current inhabitants, where did I stop off here? Current inhabitants are new, oh wait, I'm gonna put in parentheses, new forceful. So yeah, these are the oh, maybe, alright, I'm getting ahead of myself. Mind altered fungi apes, resisting the guardian constructs. I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think of what inciting incident, because obviously, you know, the factory is here. This whole headquarters has been placed to keep the fungi at bay. Obviously, somehow the fungi gets out. But I'm wondering if it gets out through the same door, or if it gets out a different way. Because there's something very narratively interesting of the players coming across this temple, factory, you know, headquartery place. And they just see wave upon wave of these maddened ape creatures, you know, trying to barrel their way into the headquarters. And you're like, why? Why would they ever want to do that? What is there? What is drawing them there? And then as you continue to explore and you get deeper, you find out that, you know, the fungi is inside. So it's almost like the fungi is like directing its minions, like, come here, open the vault, let me out. And that also kind of puts a ticking clock on the players, right? Because now the players are like, if we don't get there fast enough, then who knows? These things are gonna crack open the vault, and then we're in real deep shit. So yeah, I like that idea. So I guess I'm gonna write here in the idea table. So fungi gets out not through the front door. We can revisit this if it doesn't work narratively later. I'm going to put this in parentheses. Front door to infect apes, to force them to force them to free it from the vault. From the vault. Vault's a great name for an adventure location. Okay. Without maintenance, the structure could have finally collapsed due to weather. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So, because the one thing we were playing with the idea with Vorpal, big puff of spores out of the top starts spreading. Because we were playing with the idea too that at least in the front parts of the factory headquarters place, it is almost sort of like strangely well kept. Because the drones are still sort of active and like keeping it going. But like deeper, as the characters explore deeper and deeper, they might start to see more signs of infection or growth. But that would imply that it's happening inside of the place and not outside of the place. But I like where you're going with that, so I'm gonna write it here. So we can say fungi. Collection. Maybe it could maybe even be falls into an underground water source then. Yeah, I mean, there is this section I said here where there was oh gosh, where did I write that? Specialist equipment, botanist alchemical lab. So there is a location. This could be like where maybe like there was a sample in there and it's been lying dormant for however long, but something happens and it gets loose. There could also be, yeah, that could also be maybe an alternative way into the dungeon, because there's a term I just found out recently. I'm gonna pull up the note here because I think it is a very good note. If y'all have not watched, oh boy, I have so many DM notes here. If y'all have not watched MapCrow on YouTube, is doing some really cool videos about dungeon design in terms of map making and designing a space, which I'm learning a lot of cool tips and tricks from them. So I highly recommend, if that's something you're interested in, you look at that source material. And they have this great video about jaquaying the dungeon, or jaquazing the dungeon. Hopefully I'm spelling this name right. I just took it right from the notes. But it comes from a famous D&D designer, well, I shouldn't say dungeon. I think they might have done other projects as well, named Janelle Jacquet, and their specific take on dungeon design. And there's like certain principles that Janelle Jacquet followed in order to make these setups work the way that they intended. And one of the things that I like is like, which I don't often think about when designing dungeons, but it is something to think about, adding multiple entrances, you know, that provide meaningful choices on how you approach. So and how that is flavored differently for the context of your adventure. So yeah, maybe having... So there's a hole. Something has happened, and the botanist lab is corrupted, is compromised. And I like the idea when you're saying an underground water source, because now I'm imagining the players go there, and there's a huge hole in the floor. And if they look down deep enough, right, they can see the rushing of an underground river beneath them. Because we did say that this encampment is at the edge of a jungle, which is built into a mountain, which is how it leaks into the Underdark. So perhaps, should the players do some extra investigation or get some good tips from locals or what have you, they can learn that there is an underground river, or a river, I should say, that a water source, a river that pours out from the mountain, and if they follow that lead, perhaps they could find a different way into the dungeon where they sort of climb up and into it, and perhaps the botanist lab is like the first thing they find, right? The first room they enter because they decided to take this different way. So, yeah, I'm going to say huge hole in the floor leads to underground water source / outlying rivers. And this is for the apes. Infection. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So that was for current inhabitants. Inhabitant discipline. I mean, I guess it depends on which inhabitants you're talking about, right? the drones, right? The constructs would be rigidly disciplined, right? Because they are designed by very much designed to be that way. But if we're talking about the corrupted apes and the gorillas, like they're probably just, well, I mean, they might actually be, that's probably a tell that they are more organized. They're exhibiting intelligence that is beyond what a normal ape might show, because they're being directed by a more intelligent and malevolent force. So I guess that is worth noting just for storytelling beat purposes. So like inhabitant discipline. So the constructs are obviously treat all vigilance rolls as not. Oh, I guess this is like their watch status. We'll get there. The constructs are rigidly ordered. Wow, I can't type. Rigidly ordered, vigilant. Is there any other words that they use there that I should be? No? Okay, that's fine. Rigidly ordered, vigilant, structured, routined. And then, I should probably put this in quotes so I know who I'm referencing here. Boop. And then, boop. And then inhabitant discipline. Apes. This is a little, we'll say they are loosely ordered, demonstrate abnormal intelligence. Is that a word? Whatever. Intelligence for creature type. Yeah. At least that's something to remember for, like, the DM's narration, to give maybe a clue, to a little inkling as to what is actually maybe happening here. So we already talked about vigilance. Alarms. Obviously, I think they have a sophisticated alarm, because, I mean, we're talking about the sort of magical, the sort of magitech kind of system. Totally a word. Thank you for confirming that routine is totally a word. I thought it was. Microsoft OneNote begs to differ. So yeah, certain key points near or within the headquarters have a mechanism or possibly magic, which when triggered gives off some kind of alert. Yeah, for sure. I'm not going to try to copy and paste that entire, but yeah. magical or mechanical key points. Key point. Mechanical key point that triggers alerts and alarms. Yeah. Traps. Oh boy. I mean, yeah, I imagine there's probably a bunch of traps. And they're probably serious, right? Hold, either intended to be lethal or hold or delay unauthorized individuals. So, yeah, we're definitely going to have a couple, if not at least one centerpiece trap. So, complex and serious, designed to fully detain or eliminate intruders and threats. So yeah, definitely not playing around when it comes to this place. Okay, we got a lot going on here. Environment. Oh, this is, yeah. This we did not do this yet because this, yeah. My brain. Military company. What sort of danger is within or around the headquarters? Well, I think we already kind of know this, right? In sort of an intelligent monster. It says to roll on the Intelligent Monster chapter, but I don't really think we need to. I think we are very sort of firm in our understanding of what the threat is. Headquarters, danger, intelligent monster. So we're going to say psionic fungi plant. Corrupting local wildlife. Vorpal, you are the better half of my DM brain when it comes to raw information. I know there's a monster. It's like a plant that it scoops people up and it puts it inside of it, and then the person kind of becomes a pod person. It's either it's not in the default monster manual. It's either in one of the expanded monster manuals or one of the adventure books. I can't think of its name. I know it exists. I know because I read it and I thought about turning it into a monster in some adventure. Corpse Flower in Mordenkainen? Maybe. It could be. I'm gonna write down Mind Control Fungi. I'm gonna write Corpse Flower here because I couldn't remember the name of it, but I know there's probably some mechanics there that I can steal to design the big bad of the psychic fungi epicenter, right? So I'm gonna write that down there. It may be. Okay, headquarters danger. Okay, so that takes care of the headquarters. Part 3 dangers. The creature state. Alright, so this is, oh, interesting. Event. Okay. Alright, maybe, okay. Yeah, I mean, let's take a look at these. These can still be useful. And then we can abandon them if they no longer are useful. Creature state. What is driving the creature to be a danger to this? Yeah, they're being controlled, a natural. Yeah, some of these you don't have to roll. After we've done so much legwork and sort of brainstorming what's happening, some of the answers become apparent, which is great. It helps our process along. So the headquarters danger is intelligent monster. Intelligent monster, we'll say creature state. Creature state. They are being controlled by unnatural means. And that is psionic manipulation. There we go. Double check. That's definitely the one. Technically, it produces zombies from the corpses it keeps inside of itself, but you could reflavor it into pods or whatever if needed. Yeah, I think that's what it's gonna be. I'll have to double check you already double checked. I'll have to triple check the mechanics to see how that works. But Yeah, I think even if like doing a corpse flower and like buffing up the stats and then giving it a lot of like mind control powers, or even scaling down maybe an elder brain and changing the creature type to plant, right? Because I think, I mean, I guess it really depends on what level the adventure is going to be. Like, this kind of feels like a level 5 to 10 adventure to me. I mean, it could maybe be 11 to, what is it, 15 or 16? Vorpal could actually probably weigh in on that. What tier of play this adventure is feeling like so far. I feel like it's a 5 to 10. Ooh, 11 to 16? Are you saying that's what you think it should be? Or are you saying, it does sound like a 5 to 10. Yeah, high 5 to 10. I was thinking the same thing. So I think the Elder Brain as written, or an Elder Brain as written, is probably too much for a character of that, or characters of that party size. But we could always tweak up and down the stats. But yeah, I'm gonna write Corpse Flower, Elder Brain. I'm gonna write down some monster ideas to piece together from later on. Okay, so we know the creature state, which was here. Kinship, how similar are the creatures to other of its kind? You could actually pick up some of the constructs from Mordenkainen's too. They're sick. Thank you for reminding me that there are Mordenkainen constructs to steal. We love that. We love it. We bloody love it. Okay. Let's go here. Let's go. What are we looking at now? We got Kinship Similarity. How similar is a creature to others of its kind? This creature is a bit different from others. Creature is different from its kin in a significant way. Creature is almost the antithesis of its kin. Interesting. I mean, it's definitely not identical. I mean, I feel like it fits in either of these categories. A visual, others, court still very much like its kin. The creature is different from its kin in a significant way, either physically, mentally, or behaviorally. It may enjoy and be motivated by something atypical. Yeah, I think they're different. So what is that? Kinship to two creatures of its kind, two creatures of kind. Obviously different behaviorally. And maybe even physically. I'll put in maybe physically, and then I'll say like spores / growths ? Because that can probably be something that the players eventually find out if they inspect the corpse of one of these things. They're like, oh, what's like this weird, these green little vines, or like whatever, however it manifests itself. What is that about? And then they could start doing some investigation. Creature size, we don't have to worry about creature size. The harmed locals. Yeah, this is something that we haven't really thought about yet. So this place seems pretty far and away from civilization. I don't really know how we're gonna tie this into something that an adventurer might be sent to do or see yet. I mean, maybe that's a bit too far away, but that is something I like that this table is making me consider. I'm rolling the wrong die already. Where's the D12, baby? Number 3, indiscriminate. Random locals have been intentionally harmed, hunted, or otherwise aggrieved by the creatures. Oh, wait. Mochi did say that they're druids and such. Yeah. Druids could tip the players off. Mochi did make an interesting call out where she said because we have a jungle, we should have a jungle treasure. It might be interesting if I'm almost thinking of like a plot hook where it's like there's been tales of a great magical treasure, for lack of a better word. We'll think of something cooler in this headquarters for a long time. But then, obviously, this thing I shouldn't say very recently, well, maybe recently, who knows, activates, right? Quote unquote activates, because the drones are now recognizing that the fungi is escaping. So I'm thinking almost like, it's dead of night. Apparatus of Qualish. Apparatus of Qualish. Whoa. I mean, that is cool. And a very rarely invoked D&D item for sure. I'm almost thinking that, like, there's like a flash of light, from the mountainside. Because this place turns on after sort of eons of being defunct. And now it's like leading people to think like, oh, what has caused that phenomenon, and then they go to inspect it, and then they're being attacked by mind-controlled apes, and I guess the ones who get deep enough, I'm presuming the ones that get deep enough don't even know about the constructs, because they probably just get murdered. You'll probably find like the remains of some poor souls who tried to get too deep. But there is something to me about inciting incident. If this fungi is bioluminescent, folks could be seeing glowy gorillans in the distance. That's some creepy stuff. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even consider bioluminescence, but that is cool. And that also can play into, what do we just say here? The fact that they experience some sort of physical mutation. So physical mutation, bioluminescent spores growths. Because that is creepy and that is cool. Yeah, flash of light from the mountaintop. Oh, maybe not the top, but the mountain. When the defense grid, I'm just gonna write that now, awakens. Calls people to adventure to the location. Yeah. Druids could set the players off. I do like the idea of a druid. We don't have a lot of NPC ideas yet, so we'll keep this NPC in our back pocket. Druid NPC. But yeah, so in terms of the harmed locals, I mean, that makes sense that it's pretty indiscriminate. Like, it's just like whoever is foolish enough to explore there when it's way out of their league. Indiscriminate. Oh, I can't type. Wounds and attacks any foolish enough to... Wow. Attacks. I can't. Attacks any foolish enough to dare explore the ruins. Exclamation point. Oh no. I guess not. I don't want to make a new line. Local mindset. Opposed, unsure. Adapted. They haven't adapted. I mean, yeah, I think the locals would be opposed. This is probably the adventure hook here. Opposed. So like the adventure hook is, I mean, if you're running this as like a bog standard, like we need a one shot to have fun with our friends, or I mean, this will probably be longer than a one shot, but we need like an easy in for this adventure. The adventure hook is like, reward for rampaging gorillans. Locals want them cleared out for investigative purposes, and then obviously if you're planning on maybe working this into a longer form narrative as a DM, then that might be your chance to think of a more relevant plot hook to get them on board. But at its base, everyone responds well to We need to get these creatures from stopping to hurt people. Reward offered. But they're definitely opposed. They haven't adapted. They're not and they're not ignorant to it. They're aware that this is a thing. They just don't want it to be a thing anymore. The creature schedule. I actually don't know if Gorillans are nocturnal. Hey, Amber! What's up? Amber is joining the stream now. Amber is our wonderful rogue, Nadara Valir. Oh, I also didn't say that Vorpal was our wonderful wizard of Oz. Our wonderful wizard, Yoan Byrne. Gorillans can be whatever you want them to be. It's true. You're the DM. You can choose for them to be whatever you want them to be. But Amber, thank you for joining us. We are like deep nocturnal, diurnal, another such word. We are deep into like an adventure crafting session. So I'm glad you're here. I'm rolling through some tables to build a story, to give us some ideas on how we're going to move forward, and we've taken some ideas from chat as well to help us put together some strings. And so far, it's pretty cool. It's weird. It's definitely like D&D is kind of like I don't want to say. It's like sci-fantasy. There's definitely some science fiction-y elements to it. It's definitely more on the sci-fantasy realm so far, but very cool. So the creature's schedule, I guess, maintains the same. Okay, here's another thing that we can say. So the creature's schedule. So obviously, these these infected gorillans, like, they will act normal out to a point, but also, once again, to give you a weird, creepy clue into the fact that they're not exactly normal creatures, what if, like, they jealously and fiercely guarded this perimeter up into a certain point, and then if you get beyond that point, this invisible radius that only they can detect, because obviously it's implanted into their minds from the spore, you know? They just, like, turn around and walk away, and they completely ignore you. They don't care if you're there. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, and when a player would see this, or if it's reported to them by the locals, this behavior feels super sus. And it's like, well, why would the Gorillans not chase you down? Like, it seems like they're almost like penned into this zone. So definitely, I wouldn't say erratic per se, but it is, I'm going to use the word abnormal again, in that they jealously, I liked that word, jealously guard / defend an invisible zone in the jungle, will immediately disengage and ignore intruders beyond a certain point. Because if you see that as a player character, immediately you're like, okay, there's something up with these creatures, which is not their bog standard behavior, which is what we want. We want there to start to be clues that things aren't as they seem, that they have to build out over time. Okay. Environmental impact. How has the creature affected the environment? Creature has some small impact. Perhaps there's a rare animal species that has gone more scarce. Maybe superficial markings. Creatures had a fair amount of impact. Certain superficial markings or significant damage. Impact. You know, I mean, I want to say this is a relatively recent development, and their behavior would suggest as such that, like, they probably wouldn't, well, actually, they might attack random animals, but probably do so, actually might attack even more so because they're not just attacking out of hunger or necessity. They're attacking because, you know, these animals, even if they would normally be prey or whatever, are just like intruders to them. So we'll say moderate. We'll say certain animal species. The axe beaks. Oh my god. we did roll for like another random creature that would be like a part of the story, and we rolled for axe beaks, which but also it'd be really cute if maybe the axe beaks are like the mounts that are given to the party to find the mountain. And plus it just gives the party like a creature to like I mean, I don't want to sound like a terrible evil person here, but like as the DM, you know, yes, axe beak mounts. It gives like the party like a creature to like bond to. Like, oh, like, look at this axe beak, it's like carrying us to the mountain, and then they get there, and then axe beaks mounts, yes, and then they get there, and the gorillans like try to devour them and like totally rip them to shreds. Small Mountain, SMOLE, Small Mountain. If you kill my axe beak, I swear to God. So yeah, definitely axe beak mounts gifted to party for the journey, for sure. Oh my God, also, and we rolled earlier about the jungle floor, and it said that the jungle floor was overgrown, so it's difficult terrain unless cut through. And maybe that's what this community does. They train axe beaks to like mount, and the axe beaks will like chop and cut their way through the overgrowth, and that's why they're like such an important. Oh, that's cool. That like it's neat when you can think of ways to make the world kind of feel more alive in that sense. And for the journey, and then I put in parentheses the axe beaks chop and cut their way through the overgrowth for the party. And so yeah, we can say certain animal species like the axe beaks are being hunted to scarcity. And I'm going to put hunted in parentheses. So it's not so much that they're being hunted, it's just that the gorillans perceive them to be some sort of threat to their master, which they cannot abide. Okay, so I think we cleared out everything for the headquarters and the creatures. What is this event section? This also might be a section that we could maybe answer ourselves. So let's see, what kind of event is this? It is an infiltration. Yeah. Heist. Yeah, I mean, I think this is an infiltration. So event type, infiltration. Because the player characters are trying. I'm gonna put this in parentheses. And also there's like, we already mentioned there's like crazy alarms and everything. Event type, infiltration. Players are attempting to breach the vault. Oh, I wanted to make a note of the apparatus of Qualish. I don't know how it's going to come into play yet, but it should, probably. Because it is so weird. Yeah. Players attempting to breach the vault. Participants. What sort of group is causing or directly involved in this event? Okay, this is one we can very easily answer ourselves, probably. Or maybe not. Maybe these could be who gives us the quest. Let's roll and see what we get. And if we get something that's useful, we use it. If we don't, then we scrap it. 20 treasure hunters. I mean, okay. Yeah, that makes sense for what we were talking about before. Treasure hunters. Treasure hunter group that's heard of the artificery artificer inventions, sure, in the mountain vault, sure. Okay, we'll come back to that. Is this event in progress? Oh, it's in progress, absolutely. Event tense is present. Preparation. How prepared are those trying to carry out the event? Ooh, interesting. Wow, this is the first time that I'm actually like working deeply with this document. Normally, because I'm either modifying pre-written material or like, I don't know, I'm usually coming up with like one-shots or whatever. I don't use this document that in depth, but it goes deep. Once again, I highly recommend Dangerous Destinations. I'll scroll up here. Dangerous Destinations. I believe I downloaded this from DM's Guild. If not, you can probably find it on their website. Andrew Geertsen. Great stuff. Okay, event. Let's go with... Have put measures in place. Their plans are operated properly. I mean, I feel like it depends on the hunter, right? Like, I feel like there are some people that are going to show up very prepared, and there are probably going to be some people who don't quite understand the scope of what they're getting into. So let's say, we're going to say mixed bag. Yes, thank you, Andrew. We're going to say mixed bag. We'll say, because the treasure hunters, we haven't really established who they are yet, and I guess we don't need to yet, but are they like a guild? Is this like a loose organization of people who have just like heard about the treasure and then see the light and assume that something cool is happening, you know? I guess we haven't sussed that out. Or actually, why don't we let the dice decide? Because that is the overarching theme of the night. 6, they're prepared. Preparation, prepared. So yeah, I want to say this is probably... those involved prepared have put proper measures in place. Success is a reasonable expectation. So we'll say, yeah, this is probably a treasure hunters guild of some sort. Treasure hunters guild of some sort. Guild of some sort. Hiring free agents due to the fact, due to their numbers being felled, not reporting back in, slain at location. So they're prepared. I mean, they think they're prepared, right? No plan survives contact with the enemy, right? They're like, oh yeah, we'll just like spelunk into this mountain building, and we'll we'll pick a few locks, crack a few crypts, and be out. And meanwhile, there's like constructs and fungal apes and just everything that they would have never dreamed to find. Key individual. This is the main personality trait of the individual causing or directly involved in the event. This may or may not be the group leader. This is interesting. I guess this is like our NPC. Let's see. 20, a veteran. Oh, of course. Yeah, this is a veteran. All right, I'm going to make some NPC notes here. Event type. NPC. A veteran treasure hunter. Has lots of experience. Oh, I love that. I'm imagining sort of like a, almost like a Crocodile Dundee-esque character. I don't know why. Just I think like a wilderness explorer. Sort of. Just like, you think that's a tomb? That's a tomb. You know, he's seen everything. Or she's seen everything. They've seen everything. We haven't decided who they are yet. But yeah, sort of like just 1,000-yard stare. Has experienced probably the worst that you can. Clearly Indiana Jones. Yeah, or true. Yeah, more closely Indiana Jones. I'm going to put Indiana Jones / Crocodile, just because I like Crocodile Dundee, as a reference point. +2 to response roll. Okay. Interesting. So, this probably means what this character has in mind for their journey. Let's figure it out together. We got an 8 +2. Reinforcements. The individual responds with a signal calling for help, or someone observe the situation. When the signal is given, more support arrives. Huh. So are we the reinforcements? Or is this something that the players can trigger? Response type reinforcements. Narratively, us being the reinforcements makes sense, and it also takes more stress off the dungeon master because they don't have to worry about, you know, playing any like NPC treasure hunters that the players can somehow, you know, summon to the location. That being said, it could be a cool side objective for the players to, you know, have to do if they, you know, maybe this character gives them some sort of flare or, you know, some sort of device that can notify the treasure hunters that they've gotten to where they need to go. It could be just a cool sort of side quest that could help the heroes in some way. I don't know which way I want to go with it. We do know that he has reinforcements, or something along those lines. Signal calling for help. I'm going to write down for now, and I don't know how it's going to work yet, but I'm going to write side quest, summon the treasure hunter brigade. For side quest for PCs. Summon the treasure hunter brigade. Just because I think it's cool. We might scrap it later. Okay. That takes care of all of that. Okay, these are for... This is for the humanoids. Okay, so this is, I guess, if you're trying to figure out your NPCs. A Ric Flair snare. With the intelligent monster. Oh, I think we already... Thank you. Thank you much. Thank you for reminding me to drink. Ooh. Tasty. Okay. I think we can maybe take a look at the intelligent monster for our boss, our big bad, which we have established at this point is some sort of fungal mind-controlling creature from the Underdark. And we, you know, we don't really need to have a name for it yet. We just have the evocative words to help us design it later. But it does give us some good things to keep in mind. So yeah, its motive. What is its motive? Control. Yeah, its motive is control. Control. It wants to assert its mind powers over this location and presumably beyond if it is successful. The motive success. How successful does the monster feel that they have in achieving the goal? Are they pleased? They enthused? The monster feels they are on the precipice of achieving their goal. And are now motivated. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Motive, success. I think they are enthused. I mean, this is the closest that it's been. It has minions. They are breaking through. Feels the closest it has to success. Has minions breaking through. It's kinship or similarity. We don't know. We don't know anything. This, for all we know, this creature could be perhaps a completely... it could be completely singular in its like genus. So I'm not going to worry about the kinship to other creatures of its kind, because this is our big bad. We don't even know if it is related to any other thing. The monster age. Oh, I mean, the monster age is ancient. Yeah. I mean, the monster age is at least presumably as old as the structure, which we said was ancient, and that equates roughly to 500 or older years. So, I mean, yeah, this is ancient. This is as old as the vault. So, 500 plus years old. Extremely cunning and intelligent. I mean, for, I guess, a parasitic plant creature. Size, obviously it's massive. I think far larger. Yeah, I mean size is. I mean, what fun is fighting the giant spore monster if it's not a giant spore monster? So this is massive. This is easily gonna be like 3 to 4 times larger than a standard PC, which I think it goes medium, large, huge, colossal. Is colossal? I forget or gargantuan. I always forget. I always remember the 3rd edition size chart. 5e size chart monster. So yeah, so if like this is your standard, so it stops the gargantuan. They got rid of colossal. So yeah, I mean this is easily this big, right? So we'll say it's. Oh, hi, what's up, Lo-Fi Hip Hop Girl? Yeah, we'll say it's definitely huge, if not colossal. Or gargantuan. Larger than medium. So, huge, if not gargantuan. Because it's definitely big and scary. Definitely giving me, like, Audrey 2. If Audrey 2... I mean, depending on which ending you subscribe to for the stage show. If it establishes world domination. Spoiler alert, sorry. Local awareness. How aware are locals of the monster? I don't think they're aware. I mean, obviously they know that the apes are a thing, and they're scared about those, but I don't think there's any knowledge of this thing or the true purpose behind the vault. People just think that there's, ancient sort of gnomish treasure inside. I don't think anyone knows the true purpose is to keep this thing at bay. So the local awareness is unaware. Locals know only legends of treasure and guerrillan threat. Nothing more. Nothing more. Okay. And then it says we're going to skip the locals reaction table. Local coexistence. How well does the monster coexist with the local? It's obviously disruptive. Yeah. Sorry, I'm shaking my table because my leg is going crazy. Moshi says, yes, Audrey too. Freed me. Do we have that moment in the campaign? They like hear in their minds, freed me, heroes. Feed me. Local coexistence. Okay. It's disruptive. Obviously, this is causing impact to the local wildlife. Wait. Oh no, it's definitely not symbiotic. I mean, it is symbiotic to the apes, but not to the locals who are there. It's definitely disruptive. Causing damage to the biome and perverting, we'll say, and harming, and I can't think of a good word. Other than disrupting their way of life, causing damage to the biome, and we'll just say ruining, because I think we can't think of a word. Ruining way of established living. Established. Wow, look at that typing. Look at this word I just made up. Okay. Item. I think we already kind of know what kind of items we're looking for here. I don't think I want to worry about it right now. I think maybe we'll come back to it. I mean, obviously items will be a part of this. What is this? Where did the magic originate from? Magic frequency. Well, I'm going to read this section maybe more in depth. Magical danger can take many forms. Yeah, I think we might revisit that too when we start designing the actual space and what kind of magic is suffused into it. Part 4 antagonists. I mean, yeah. Wait, intelligent monsters. Yeah, I mean, I think create a ruler. yeah, I mean, I think we can use some of these for our big bad. So our archetype, obviously, is the ruler, right? Its goal is control. Goal being control. Yeah, suspicious. Yeah, I like that. Lovers characters. Oh, this just goes more in depth into each individual. I'm about to say love. We're gonna roll for the lover of the psychic fungus now. All right. I mean, hey, love what you love. Lord of the Horde, God Killer, Deceitful Influencer, Paranoid Prepper. Lord of the Horde. Are these just giving you? Okay, yeah. Tanks using information as a weapon. Vast arms used across the face of the wild, destroying everything in its path. Gleeful, malicious. These are just like giving you some guidelines for that. I think we can largely just assume what we need to know about that so far. Okay. So we have a lot about this this place, and we have a lot about we have random NPC tables. This document's crazy. Oh, look, some gnolls featured very prevalently in our current adventure right now on level 1 adventuring. Come check it out. But I think, yeah, that's what we need to know right now. So, get her. So now let's take a look at. I'm gonna add a page. So we got good bones. We got good bones here. We got a lot of good bones right here to build out of. One thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look back to my old. Yeah, these are some notes I have on design principles. These are taken from a bunch of different articles online, and I will try my best to cite them as I compile them as I go along. But one thing that I really like also, taken by MapCrow, which once again, great videos, especially if you're thinking about maps. I wanna play with these two things right here. So I wrote down here, make the dungeon a bride, because he plays with the idea of the old, wedding adage, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. And I'm going to copy this, actually, and I'm going to put this back into our document. I'll put it here, actually. Because this will give you maybe some sort of... Oh, and I'll also grab the idea of taking themes and building out from the themes, and we'll talk about that in a second. So let me steal these and pop them here. But okay, so yeah, the first idea we're gonna play with is the turning this dungeon into a bride. So we want to use the adage of something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue to start giving our adventure and our location a bit of tone, right? Now, something old I think we've done a really good job at so far is the history of the adventure location. We have a pretty good idea of that so far. So for the something old, our current understanding of the space... I don't want the... Okay. Our current understanding of the space is that this was a sort of gnomish factory or headquarters that dealt in magical artificery. We know that the factory, I'm gonna call it the vault. I think the vault's gonna be specifically a location in this place, but for the note-taking purposes, I do like the word vault more than factory. So we do know that at one point the gnomes were excavating. Yeah, we can say they were excavating the mountain for raw materials. Perhaps this mountain is rich in metallic ore and crystals that would power their magical contraptions, right? So now we have a reason for them to be digging too deep, right? Like hubris. Eventually, they crack into the Underdark. The Underdark, where they run into the... I'm just going to call it the Fungal Lord for now, for lack of a better name. But it's certainly evocative and will help sell the feeling of what this is. Okay. And then we get the idea that this vault, you know... I still made it green. Then we get the idea that the vault has to become sort of like a defense platform and a research station. Becomes defense platform, research station to keep the fungus at bay and breaching the world. I cannot type. And then they do this until such a time that they realize that they realize as long... Oh, wait. We kind of changed this. I was going to say as long as their bodies are mortal, are flesh, then they are susceptible to being dominated by the spores. But also... We said that they so they build the construct drones to help fight the fungi without risk of infection, and that's when they realize as long as they are flesh, they are vulnerable to corruption. This is around the time that they perform a neural mantic, right? Necromantic neural mantic ritual to place their consciousness into the vault as it's what's another word for like artificial intelligence that's like not artificial, like, you know, I'm trying to think of like a cool term that's like would be fantasy artificial intelligence, maybe like an astral intelligence, like and it'd still be like AI, you know what I mean? But yeah, something where their like minds are not in their bodies but still existing. Weave mind, ooh. Saucy Vorpal, I love that, and also playing into lore. So yeah, let's play as its Weave Mind to coordinate the vault, and so that is roughly the history. And then, you know, so they create the drones, they create the Weave Mind. It is operating safely for, you know, at least 500 plus years until, and then present events. So yeah, now we're aware of the something old. We know all we need to know about that. Then let's go to something new. So yeah, so we've already established a lot of this too. So something new. So we're kind of summarizing the work that we've already done and making it a bit more digestible for us so that we can reference it a bit more easily as we're designing the play space, which will probably be the next step. Yeah, so we haven't... So we know that somehow it affects the botanist research station. We don't exactly know what happens. I wish I had a clearer picture. Unless we say... I mean, I like the idea that the drones keep maintenance up on the inside of the vaults. But, I mean, it does make it just easier to hand wave if we say the drones don't run maintenance on the vault. And that's what causes the floor to collapse, right? I mean, that's, like, the easiest answer. Because obviously, if the fungus sample that was in the botanist alchemist lab place got free, right? Or it started growing, immediately the constructs would know and they would swarm it and drones could be starting to wear out. Okay. Yeah. All right. We could say something new. Drone maintenance. Maybe they're Maybe they're designated to certain sections, and the alchemy lab goes down. Okay. Drones are, or maybe the alchemy lab had a security malfunction that closed it off to drone maintenance. Huh. That's interesting too. And that would also mean that there's probably like a huge security door that's like locked, which the players would have to find a way through. Which I dig. Do we need to explain the malfunction though? Or can we just hand wave it and say, this place is old and the neuromancy, maybe it's going mad. I don't know. Do we need an explanation? I don't know. But I do like the idea that it's closed off because that creates another obstacle for the players to have to try to worm their way through. So we'll say for now, security malfunction causes... Could just be one of the symptoms of a deteriorating weave mind. Yeah, I definitely feel like the weave mind might not be entirely sane. I mean, obviously that's playing into a tired trope. Makes me think of the beginning scene of The Fifth Element. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we are the collective hive mind of sci-fi and fantasy tropes are operating in an all-time high right now. I mean, yeah, kind of a tired trope to have the AI go haywire, but I mean it's fun. It hasn't been tested. You don't have a choice. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so we're going to say security malfunction from an unstable weave mind. I know that you're just saying all the best things because, we're referencing all these things, but in my mind I heard all the best things. Alright. Security malfunction from an unstable weave mind causes Fungal lab to be shut off from the rest of the vault. And we're going to put in quotes here, huge security door, because we love that. My brain just shut off. It is rebooting. Without drones having access, maintenance suffers. Floor of the lab collapses into underground water channels. I'm going to put in parentheses here. Alternate dungeon entrance. The polluted water finds its way to a what are we going to say? A pool in a gorillan colony. Gorillans ingest water, are infected by fungal spores, have their minds dominated. Dominated Gorillans, patrol jungle, hurt innocents, and then attempt... Oh, we should also say... Okay. Without having drones, floor of the dungeon entrance, this is probably the collapsing floor is this triggers the vault defenses to activate, right? Because if it senses that something bad just happened in that location, trigger the vault defenses to activate, which triggers the huge flash of light from the mountain. And this is what begins to draw. This is what draws in locals, treasure hunters, and eventually our heroes. Polluted water finds its way to a pool in a gorillan colony. Gorillans ingest water, are infected, minds dominated. Dominated Gorillans patrol the jungle, hurt innocents, and now attempt to breach the vault. To free the Fungal Lord. Once again, all in caps, bolded, and green. Although it's a slightly different shade of green, which is going to bother me. I think it's... Nope. But I remember that one more than the other one, so this is the one now. And now, enter the PCs. Enter the PCs. This is where the adventure begins. So something borrowed. This is where we say steal like an artist, and this is like where you start fusing your ideas from your favorite things, and like, but we've already done that like 10 times over. Like we've just talked about how it's like spawning so many memories of things we love. So yeah, I'm gonna say something borrowed. I'm just gonna make like a little note of like influences. So I mentioned like Halo. Well, there we go. We got Halo. We got Indiana Jones. We got Star Trek with the Borg. We got Never Too Late to Add Ewoks. I wish I could have given the inverse advice to George Lucas. It's too late for the Ewoks. I know you really wanted them, George. You were pushing for them, and they sound like a great idea, but we just don't have the time. Indiana Jones. Halo. I don't even bite your tongue, sir. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was talking to a hardcore Ewok stan in the crowd. I apologize. I don't mean to... I am pro Ewok. Wow, okay. Raise up if you're pro Ewok in the chat. Something blue. Something mournful, sorrowful, pitiful. So yeah, the something blue is supposed to be like a touch point for your characters. You know, to give the place some life in terms of like you're kind of plucking a heartstring. You know, this story, this location should have a story. I'm gonna erase the original note here since we don't need it anymore. That it creates a level of sympathy within our heroes to a degree, right? And I think, I mean, there's definitely some things we could state here. Obviously, there's going to be, I mean, axe beak murders? Question mark. But I think the most pitiable thing here, as I make a little notation, I think the most... Star Cruiser goes crush crush. I think the most pitiable thing here is the Weave Mind. There's something about this entity which, you know, it's so pitiable because it was designed to protect its people in a moment of desperation, and in the end it sort of becomes this like twisted mockery of itself. It can't even really perform its duty. It's obviously failed, right? So it's like all these people sort of poured their minds and their souls into this thing to keep everyone safe, and it's failed. So I think, yeah, the something blue is the Weave Mind. Sort of its It's a pitiable, half-mad state. Its best intentions gone haywire. Its ultimate function, it failing. Its ultimate function and goal, it failing. Its ultimate function / goal. And there's other things we can add here too. We can add, you know, the bodies of previous explorers. If we want to be real big jerks, we can put things like mementos and notes on their bodies. You know, to denote what they're going to do with their treasure. What they're going to do with the treasure. Things like that. Oh, and also sort of like the collapsed beauty and purpose of this place, purpose of this once majestic place. That's more sold in your narration, right? Like as a dungeon master, to feel like this thing that was built to stand the test of time and achieve a noble goal has fallen so far from grace. But yeah, I think the true outright winner here is the Weave Mind. I'm gonna put the Weave Mind in blue bold to make sure I understand that. Okay, and so that is like making the dungeon a bride there, which we already did a really good job of just through our normal evolution of sort of problem solving. And then the final thing here is just to establish some themes, because from themes we can work backwards to establish like set dressings and other sort of points of interest that we're going to want. So we have themes. What do we have here? So we have the jungle location. We have the artificer vibe. We have mind control as a theme. What else do we have? We have... is that enough? I feel like around 4. We'll think about it. But, I mean, the Artificer, we get Magitech, we get complex traps, we get the constructs, we get probably some weird weapons and magic items. They can be picked up. We get interesting ways to interact with the space in terms of like magitech, like arcane consoles. We get rare materials in the ore and crystals, which are probably stored on site. Probably be a good thing for characters to find. We'll come back to that. The jungle, oh man, I mean, we get the hanging vines, the creeping brush, 4-foot salami. Yeah, I mean that seems to make its way into all of our adventures. The creeping, the hanging vines, the creeping brush, wild animals, which we can put Axebeak and Gorillin. Exploring. I'm just gonna put exploring for now, because I mean that's in every adventure, but I feel like jungles are. Exploring and treasure hunting, which we already established. Exploring and treasure hunting, which is very jungle-y. Exploring and treasure hunting, other themes, wilderness survival. We can play with elements of that. And then mind control. Oh, other themes too. What is it? what the like green versus steel, you know, the juxtaposition of nature versus artifice. We can do a lot sort of visually with visual, I don't want to say gags, but like visual cues of vines and fungus creeping, spreading across stone and metal, all that fun stuff. You can even invoke like senses of smell, like, you know, you can smell and taste even sometimes iron, but like tinged with what's the word? Biological pollutant. That sort of thing. I'm gonna say for the artificer theming post is feeling of always being watched, right? From the weave mind before they understand what they're up against. Also, and this can go in both categories here. The alien mind of a construct. That's one of the spooky things in mind. I think when you're fighting an enemy like a construct in a place like this, it's like, man, like you don't know what you don't know what it thinks, if it thinks. Like, you know that it has a purpose and it's carrying out its orders, but like there's no way you can comprehend its purpose, especially when you don't understand the history of this place yet. And so that's like a theme we can definitely play with. Mind control, losing sense of self, whispers in the back of your ear, sort of headaches from like the latent psychic energy or paranoia, latent psychic energy in the space, paranoia, losing sense of self. Obviously we can play with psychic attacks and charm / dominate effects, which are never fun for players, but fun for you. Jungle. Poison. Speaking of status effects. Vertigo. Yeah. So yeah, this is a nice collection of themes. We can put, fungal growth. Just gonna put like some more ideas there. Okay, I think those are good themes. Okay, and I'm gonna erase that. I think this feels pretty well fleshed out right now. I think this is giving us a very clear... so far. Obviously we haven't figured out all of the details, especially with these characters yet, like the Weave Mind or the Treasure Hunter. But we definitely have a narrative arc, right? And a reason for this place to be, and a reason for the players to want to intervene, and some cool rewards possibly in terms of the technology and the gold and the magic technology. Yeah, I think we've got a lot to work with here. And I know it's pushing 11, so I should probably sign off soon. But this is a lot to work with. So I think what we're gonna do is next session we will take some of these notes, and then we'll start actually trying to maybe start building the dungeon first, build the adventure location first. I have a lot of great documents that help us do more adventure, like location building, because once we get a size, we get an idea of the size of the space and like how it's laid out and how they're going to traverse it. Then we can figure out where to place enemies, which means we can design enemies. We can know where to place traps, which means we get to design traps. I think once we start understanding the layout, then we can start slotting in its inhabitants and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I think we're gonna pick this up on our next Monday DM session, unless some other topic or a guest star wants to appear to talk us through this. But we're gonna save this. So we're gonna save this as Dungeon Design Session 1, and I'm gonna say, what is this? I'm gonna call this the Fungal Jungle, just because it rhymes. Can I color this? I can. And this will be sort of our first level 1 adventuring DM group thought design document, with the hopes that eventually I will convert all of these notes into like a nice PDF. In my heart of hearts, what I'd love to do is obviously cite everyone here who's in chat and has been so cool and kind at providing ideas. I'd like to turn this into a document, like a PDF, that if you're subscribed to the Patreon, that you would just get for free, right? Because you're a part of the community, and maybe some of you even had a hand of talking through it. So it would be just a free adventure that you just get for being a part of our team. But that we could also sell on DM's Guild as something that if you're a DM who wants to have a cool adventure, you could buy and flip through and help build the level 1 brand. That's kind of the goal. So these sessions basically these sessions are forcing me as a dungeon master and as a showrunner to do this work that I might otherwise not do if left to my own devices, because I've told myself forever that I will write something and release it to the DM's Guild. So this is going to be the vehicle to do that. And if people want to talk and learn about dungeon design as we do it, all the better. That's kind of my idea. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to give the normal spiel. So once again, I am Wolfe Scott. This is Level 1 Adventuring. This channel is designed to teach about D&D. On Mondays, like tonight, we do Dungeon Master talks and design streams. We chat with the audience and take lots of cool notes together and teach you how to play or teach you how to build things. On Wednesdays, we run a live play 5th edition campaign. It is going to be running until either they all die or we all die or they win, and who knows when that will be. It's a long-form campaign. I have 6 awesome friends, 2 of which were already in chat, who are playing in it. They're only 4 episodes in. They're all still level 1, so if you want to jump on and learn and join the adventure, there's still plenty of time to do that. But you can get to see D&D live in play happening, which is great. And then I just started doing a new type of content on the channel. I started playing Baldur's Gate 3, which is a Dungeons & Dragons licensed adventure game that's not available yet. It's in pre-release. It's still a whiles away from release, but it's beautiful, it's fun, it's well designed. I'm having a great time. So I'm playing the pre-release now on the channel. It doesn't have a set day or time. All the other times are usually around 7:38. This one doesn't have a set time yet, so we're figuring that out. Maybe it'll be floating. But yeah, you can come watch that and see a different type of D&D being enjoyed. I'll definitely play a couple different characters on that. Yeah, you can meet Taava Night-Song, the Tiefling Rogue, and his goth girlfriend, at least that he's really trying hard for, Shadow Babe, also known as Shadowheart, her real name. But that's also been a lot of fun. I would implore you to follow and like us and subscribe to us on all the platforms. I've been so happy with the growth that Twitch has seen, and I'm hoping that YouTube follows soon, because I would love to hit 100 subscribers so we can get our own vanity URL to make things easier to search. And also, the Patreon just went live, earlier this week. So, you've already learned about a couple benefits of the Patreon. You'll get free adventure videos, or free adventure PDFs once they're made. And there's other benefits too, other free videos and other types of design things I'll release. But if you like what we're doing here, please consider supporting us. The main goal that I have right now that I've already talked about, but I'll say it again, is that I'm really hoping to get $6 in monthly donations on the stream, and that way I could afford the annual D&D Beyond subscription for the entire cast and crew, so that they could digitize all of their character sheets and their materials without us having to pay for it out of our own pocketbooks and become like sort of self-sustaining. Self-sustaining stream is the dream. So yeah, please check that out and join the Discord, because that's where I do all the campaign journal stuff for the adventure stories. That's where you can learn all about the homebrew world of Mira, which is where the adventures are taking place. It's got a lot of good stuff in there. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I had a great time. I hope this was fun and insightful and useful for your own dungeon design thought processes. Once again, this document right here, Dangerous Destinations, by, once again, Andrew Geertsen. Excellent resource. I use this a lot when I'm designing adventure locales. And you can see how after you start applying a few random tables and your own imagination, you can start linking things together in very unique ways. And this is all just story, right? Like we haven't done any mechanics yet. We haven't done like any monsters or anything like that. So there's still so much room to grow here, which I'm excited to see how it does. But yeah, I highly recommend this document. Oh, and also big thanks to Lofi Hip Hop Girl, who makes all of their music free to use for all content creators. That's great. We really appreciate, small streamers like us really appreciate being able to have that content available to us. And it provided a nice like chill background for our design sesh. And so with that, I think I must bid you adieu. I really hope to see you next time for any of our streams, design, adventure, or Baldur's Gate. And until next time, you know, adventure on, venture forth, my friends. I'm trying to like look at the things so I can give you the outro. Adventure forth, my friends. Adios.